BattleBit just had another update released yesterday. This one is a substantial update because there's a new map, new weapons, but we'll cover all of that when we go through the patch notes. So starting off with the new map, it is called Zalfibay. Basically, you're fighting for control of a main city that's surrounded by desert, hills, and canyons. Naval vehicles are your best friend for travel to a native objective, and snipers can utilize the islands in the middle of water to control the coastline. So this map is available on Conquest, Infantry Conquest, Frontlines, Domination, and Capture the Flag. Now, unfortunately, I have yet to play this map because the voting system was changed, and we'll get to that a little bit later. They also added global leaderboards for top clans, top XP, top heals, top revives, top vehicles destroyed, top vehicles repaired, top road kills, top longest kills, top objectives completed, and top kills overall. Unfortunately, it doesn't really tell you where you stand in the leaderboard. It only shows the top 5,000 players. It would be a nice thing to have just so you can get an idea of where you stack amongst the rest of BattleBit players. Now moving on to UX and UI. So global leaderboard implemented, as I just spoke about. On loading screen, a random global leaderboard top 20 will be displayed. Positional hit marker appears where the barrel is pointed instead of centered, can now be toggled on and off from settings on by default. Server browser filters choices will be saved. Loadout UI, armor damage renamed to player armor damage, and L armor damage renamed to light vehicle damage to make it more clear which is which. Moving on to gameplay, they disabled the squad leader class until it has a proper place in the class system. It does not affect being a squad's squad leader, so if you ever noticed when you're a squad leader, there was a class called squad leader, but honestly, I really never played with it. I mostly played medic, so it didn't really seem to have any appeal to me. Maybe somebody can correct me on this, what you could do with this class, but it didn't seem all that useful. Frag grenades will no longer explode on impact with vehicles. Additional hit reg changes plus hit feedback changes. The game felt a lot better in terms of hit registration, and the servers are way better than they were in the past couple of weeks. Player will be able to give up faster the longer they hold space. That doesn't affect the speed if you don't hold space. During game mode voting, players who do not vote will no longer count as random. However, servers will no longer run same game mode twice in a row. So if you're playing in an official server that doesn't have a constant game mode, it will shuffle through a bunch of different game modes. So you're not always, for example, stuck playing Rush if you're in 32v32. Don't know if players will like this. Some people really like always playing the same game mode as opposed to other players like having a little bit of variety. We'll see how it plays out. Moving on to vehicles. Helicopters will fall down slower when tilted down exactly 180. Apparently it was a bit too much, so in the last update they changed it, that you would fall when you were flying upside down. So now the helicopter should fall a little bit slower. Little Bird minigun damage fall off starts at 75 meters instead of 200, and Little Bird minigun damage fall off ends at 200 meters instead of 500. Weapons. We have two new weapons, the F2000, which is unlockable at level 35. I have used it quite a bit since the release of this update, and it feels really good to play with. It has 35 rounds in the mag and you do 23 damage per shot. It does shoot incredibly fast and has a very, very, very minimal recoil, so you can laser people at a decent distance with this thing. A lot of people are kind of on the fence about it, but I am really enjoying it so far. Despite it, the original sight on this thing is absolutely terrible. As soon as you get a red dot, just slap it on there. There's also a new DMR, so the G3, available at level 90. Moving on to the HK419, the fire rate was increased from 640 to 825. Vertical recoil decreased from 1.4 to 1.3. Horizontal recoil increased from 0.9 to 1.3, and the quick A magazine size increased from 24 to 26. The AUGA3, the fire rate has been increased from 500 to 600. Moving on to maps/environment. So new map added, Zalfibay, which we talked about a little bit earlier. Window shutters. So this reduces the amount of windows to account for, can be destroyed via explosive or sledgehammer. So as you can see in the screenshots here, they added shutters to many windows in a lot of maps. That just reduces how many windows you have to look for when running across some maps, like for example Frugus, where there's a lot of buildings that you can actually enter into, and there's also a lot of windows. So they added shutters on Lonovo and Wine Paradise, on the desert biome buildings in Salhan, Sandy Sunset, and other maps, which they don't specify. Frugus, they added textures to the Frugus subway. They also added shutters. Frugus Frontline 32v32 incorrect borders have been fixed. Tensa suburban building textures updated. Added texture to walls, foundation, and floors. So just making all the shapes more distinct to look at. Shooting range, target, dummy textures were fixed. With all these new texture additions, I think the game is starting to look a lot better than it did. It just gives you a better idea of what you're looking at instead of just seeing like a blob of shapes. You can now see distinct corners and stuff like that. So moving on to audio, directional bullet pass by sounds was added. Players will no longer hear bullets pass by sound if there's an obstacle between player and bullet. When the mag is emptied, there will be dry fire sound each time fire is clicked. Shot sounds will adjust according based on distance instead of inaudible at long distance. There will be proper work with a sound studio about this in the future. Moving on to fixes. Gadgets not syncing fixed, so silent RPGs, Suicide C4, and animations not playing, and others. Player visuals desyncing while climbing fixed for the third time. A bug where bullets desync with server client side while player is being supplied by support player has been fixed. You are being bandaged or revived messages was not appearing, that has been fixed. If a player vaults twice in a row, vaulting animation wouldn't play, that has been fixed. Misapplied weapon drawing speeds has been fixed. CTF, if the flag becomes stuck inside an object, it would automatically teleport above the object. Support will no longer attempt to supply downed or dead players and themselves while using ammo kit handheld supply. And last but certainly not least, I didn't see them mention it in here, but the voting system for the map has been changed. So now it's based on a weight system. So for example, if one map has 60% and one map has 40% votes, let's just go with a two map example here. The map would be random. So the map chosen would be random with a slight skew towards the map that had 60% of the votes. So I really don't like it that much. Sure, it sucks playing the same map over and over, but when you're trying to play a new map, so they just released Zalfibay, I haven't managed to play it yet because even though we had, like, for example, 61% of the votes among 5 maps, it's still another map that ended up winning because of the random or almost random choice that the selector does based on weight. I'm really not a fan of it. I think a much better idea would be to not include maps that were played in the past 2 or 3 rounds, maybe, or 2 rounds. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but the new decisional system they implemented for maps based on weight is not great. But yeah, I do imagine they will look into this. There has been a lot of people kind of disappointed and like going into the next map and like being, what the hell, the map that won was Zalfibay at 61%, why the hell are we playing Tents Down or something like that? So still a lot of work to be done in the terms of map voting and stuff like that, but hopefully this gets addressed soon because I do want to play Zalfibay. But yeah, that'll do it for today's video. Link in the description down below if you want to go and read the patch notes for yourselves. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.